Okay. Our next, welcome back. Our next commission was the International Labour Organization, and this one they met once a year, and they invited the government, the employees, the employers to be represented in order to improve their working conditions. So for them, they took care of their workers. Why do we need the International Labour Organization? During the First World War, they saw that it is not because of the people they were contented, people they were not happy. That's why they went to the First World War, and they argued that if people are contented, to take them to the war, it will not be possible, and therefore they formed this one in order to bring harmony between the employer and the employee. And the last commission was the Slavery Commission and Refugee Commission. So this one, they were given the mandate to work hard to abolish the slavery. Remember, in the world, we had the problem of the slave trade. So even after the colonial master came and they wanted to abolish it, up to the 1920s, slavery was still taking place. So this commission, they were given power to establish areas whereby they can settle those slaves and also ensure that no country is trading with human beings. And the last one was the Health Committee, and this one they were supposed to improve the public health worldwide. Remember, during the First World War, there are those diseases that they emerged, and therefore it was the work of this Health Committee to ensure that they eradicate all the diseases and the problem that the people they were facing in the world. And with that, you find they could be able now to eradicate issues like the one of the cholera, Spanish flu. They did work hard to make sure that they are no longer a threat to the world. It was the end of the First World War in 1918. That's when the Spanish flu really affected the whole world. It's just like the way we have corona today. It's good I'm repeating this when it has ever happened. So during this Spanish flu, people died the way they are dying now because of corona. They had even to use the method that we're using today, washing hands, people isolating themselves and the like. And therefore, it is through this committee they were able to come up with a vaccine and methods of eradicating that disease. So therefore, whatever happened today is not a new thing. It's a history repeating itself. Now look, after 100 years, the same has come back. So maybe by 100 years will be the one who will be working that time, and maybe there will be another problem. No, these are recurrent. There are things that keep on coming as technology continue emerging, new diseases and new things coming, and therefore the health committee, they were working in order to improve the health of the people, to make sure that they are comfortable. And finally was the refugee committee, and this one was to help the refugees and the disaster victim to be able to be settled, and those who want to be taken back to their country. It was through this refugee committee they were able to do that. So that is the agencies of the League of Nations, and it's one of the main organs of the League of Nations. So if you look at these organs, they wanted to make sure that the League of Nations is going to eradicate the problems that they were there before the First World War and prevent occurrence of another World War. At the end of this lesson, we'll be asking ourselves, are we really going to eradicate the war by using the League of Nations, or there's something more that needs to be done? So in that, let us move on to the strengths of the League of Nations and the weaknesses. I'm going to start with the strengths, and in the strength, allow me to start with where they did very well. You know, when you want to command someone, you use what he has done well before you say the bad thing. So I'm going to start with the good thing about the League of Nations. That's what I'm referring to as the strength. So one of the strengths is that the League of Nations managed to bring in board so many countries, and we are told 42 countries joined the League of Nations at the start. That means people had trust with the League of Nations that is going to solve their problem, and therefore they joined without question. So 42 members, it is not a small number. The second thing, we are told that by 1930s, about 60 countries were members of the League. So therefore you find at the beginning 42. By 1930, 60 members have joined the League. It means that that was on the strength side, because if it was not a good thing, members could not have joined the League of Nations. So we are told that all signed the 26 promises of the covenant. Remember, we said that they had a charter of the covenant. A covenant is an agreement that I'm going to follow the issues, I'm going to follow all the articles that you have laid down, I'm going to follow your rules and regulations, and I'm not going to violate any of them. So if 26, they signed those 26 promises of the covenant, it meant that now they were all ready to unite and ready to work together. So in Article 10, in which the nation promised to keep the peace and help the nation which were attacked, this made the League seem to be very strong. Imagine 60 countries promising that if one country becomes violent, we are all going to work together towards that country. So that is a strength that we cannot ignore, and that way you find it is on the side of the strength, because it meant that if the country they were to work according to that Article 10, it meant that in the world we could have never fight any other war, because there's no time there are two aggressors. At one point, a certain country is the aggressor, or the country come together, they solve that problem. But are they going to honor that Article 10 or not? So in the next thing, you find that Britain and France were the main members. Remember, I've said when I was talking about those who had veto power, Britain was one of them. So being the main members, they were helped by Italy and Japan, whereby all these countries, they were quite powerful and they were feared by other countries. And therefore we can say that these members being there, it made the League of Nations to become very strong. So I don't know at one point whether Italy and Japan, they are going to leave Britain and France alone, or they are going to continue holding hard and holding the world together, or what is going to happen. So in the other strength, you find that the community of power, whereby we are told that League publicly declared a country is wrong, public opinion forced it to stop. Whereby today, if Kenya is making a mistake, it is aired in all the medias, and therefore all the country, they know that Kenya is misbehaving, and therefore due to that, it ended up doing what? Stopping that issue. And therefore this community of power really helped the League to become strong, and it really encouraged members who are members. The other strength is arbitration. What is arbitration? It's whereby if you have a difference, you look for an arbitrator. You look for someone to bring peace between you. So the League plays as a referee between two countries. So if we have country A, maybe Germany and Italy, they are fighting, the League of Nations acted as the arbitrator, who was now helping the two countries to solve their problem. And therefore we can say that the League of Nations really helped at one point from 1920s up to 1930 to arbitrate among the problem that the nations were fighting or countries were happy, and therefore it helped them to solve their problem. The other strength is that they use what we call trade sanctions. What is a trade sanctions? Is whereby if you are wrong, they can decide that we are not going to trade with that country. That's what we call a sanction, or we refer to it as economic sanction, whereby other countries, they are going to keep you aside and they are not going to trade with you. Just imagine, even a country which is as big as Britain, if the other countries are not trading with Britain, what will happen? The economy will go down, because they have so many industries, and those industries, they needed raw materials. So where are these raw materials coming from? They are coming from other countries. They have good industries. Those industries, they are manufacturing. They need to sell their goods outside countries. So if other countries, they are not trading with Britain, it meant that their economy is locked, and therefore they are not moving anywhere, and therefore they could now withdraw some of the things that they are doing if they are sanctioned, and therefore this made the members of the League agree not to trade with an offending country, and therefore that could force that country to withdraw what they were doing wrong. They also had collective security, whereby the League members agreed to back each other, okay, in a military conflict. So if there's a problem, they could back each other, they could help each other in resolving their problem. Having a collective security really helped Because if one just become an aggressor, you know that you'll be tackled by the other members. So next lesson, I'm going to look at the weaknesses, and I don't want to look at them today. I want you to go back in your notes, which I'm going to post in our Go classes, and write those notes, understand them, so that when I'm looking at the weaknesses, we'll be together and we'll be able to understand how did the League of Nations fall, or what made the League of Nations collapse, because today we don't have the League of Nations. Otherwise, have a good day.